There is nothing better than coming home to an animal that is ultimately happy to see you and welcomes you home. I come home every day to find my dog wagging his tail and trying to get me to play tug with him. This here is my dog Hank. My dad got him when he was 5 months old. His owners bought him and then found out they were having a baby, so they offered Hank to my dad for free. It was one of the best decisions we ever made. Now granted, he is not some fancy purebred dog, but he is the best kind of dog a person could ask for. There are millions of animals just like Hank that are just looking for a loving home, and they never get the chance to experience one. They get overpicked by purebred puppies that a breeder brought into this world just to make a buck. How ethical is that, to bring an animal, a living creature, into the world just so you can make more money? Only 1 out of 10 dogs born ever gets a home. The same goes for 1 out of every 12 cats. 800 dogs and cats are killed every hour. In Nashville, Tennessee alone, there are 300 to 500 dogs and cats euthanized every day within a 50-mile radius. When a person brings an animal to a no-kill shelter, they leave with a good feeling, knowing that they didn't have to get their animal euthanized, and it won't be euthanized. Little do they know that as soon as the no-kill shelter runs out of capacity for animals, and an animal isn't adopted in an allotted amount of time, they give the animal to a kill shelter. The kill shelter holds on to the animal for a while, and then as soon as they run out of space, they end up euthanizing the animal. People purchase kittens and puppies because they are just so dang cute, but many don't realize the trials and tribulations that come with having an animal. That animal ultimately depends on you to be its provider. It can't learn to feed itself or to let itself out to go to the bathroom when it needs to go. Getting a puppy or a kitten is just like having a child. Things will not always start out perfect. But when the going gets tough, do you give up on your child and just give them away? No, you stick with your commitment when you bought the dog or cat, just like you would with a child. With adopting an animal, you pay maybe $150 or so rather than spending thousands of dollars on an animal that is new to this world. With the adopting, usually the animal will be trained in some fashion, and you won't have to spend a lot of time training it. You won't have to teach it where to go to the bathroom or what not to chew on. With Hank, he did come potty trained, which was a blessing in disguise. However, we did have to teach him that you don't chew on flip-flops, but that didn't take very long to teach him what to chew on and what not to chew on, which toys were his and which ones were ours. If you adopt an animal while they are 2 to 3 years old, their hereditary health issues will have passed and your animal will be healthier and won't need you to pay for its medical care, saving you more money. When you adopt or rescue an animal, you leave the shelter with a good feeling that you did something good. You just saved an animal by giving them another shot at life and giving them a home, rather than having them sit in their kennels and wait for the day when they are pulled out of their kennel for the last time to be euthanized. With breeding an animal, you have to pay for vaccinations, which can be very expensive. You also have to create and maintain a schedule for your animal to get used to, such as potty schedules, behavior training, eating schedules, and exercise. With a rescued animal, they will usually already have all this training and will also be out of their young hyper stage. It is more costly to buy an animal versus adopting it in many ways. With rescuing an animal, there is less hassle when it has to be euthanized. My sister once had a friend who had 5 or so cats. Her parents didn't get them spayed, so they reproduced quite often. When the kittens were finally able to be away from their mother, the family would just ship them off to a shelter and continue breeding. It bothered me very bad that all those kittens might never know what it was like to have a loving home, and they may never get the experience. And they were just brought into this world so the daughter could have kittens to play with. Getting an animal is a lifetime commitment. People need to be sure they are ready to handle it before buying an animal or adopting it. They also need to consider the pros of adopting versus buying. I hate nothing more than watching TV and then having the Humane Society commercials come on showing all of those animals that are unwanted and aren't rescued. It breaks my heart to see all of them in such bad conditions and makes me want to just go out and adopt all of them and bring them all home to show them that there is still love in the world and not everyone is as cruel as their owner was. I think many more people would find it more to their advantage to adopt an animal and would also save a lot of money and have a good self-moral knowing they saved an animal. They spent less money giving an animal a second shot at life rather than paying for a purebred brand new animal. $150 versus $3,000 to $5,000. There's a lot of savings in there. Plus, you don't have to pay for the vaccinations for a puppy or a kitten, and their medical is also paid for because they are out of their hereditary health issues that have already passed. When people adopt, they also know they aren't supporting a puppy mill, which keeps puppies in an extremely harsh environment with no love and very poor medical care. They are also kept separate from their parents, so the parent dogs can just continue breeding to make the owner a profit. If more people would adopt and rescue, think how much more money the states would save by not having to euthanize an animal, and then we would no longer have to see all those horrible commercials that the Humane Society puts on about the animals that are not wanted. Everybody deserves to have a happy animal. And who knows, maybe you may get an animal that is just as happy as my dog is when you come home, which is also worth coming home to.